welcome back to Between the Levees. I have with me today Captain Kevin Ferezan. Found him in the far about as far as we can go west, I think, on the canal there. Where are you this morning, bud?
We're just leaving Brownsville, man. We just brought two loads down here to Brownsville. We're heading back to Ingleside, light boat.
I trust you safely delivered my tank load yesterday
Oh
sometime.
yeah, dropped that off last night about 10 o'clock to the Brownwater 5. They took it into Corpus.
Okay. How long have you been in the industry?
In the tugboat industry, I've been in here about 2.5 years at Brownwater. Worked marine construction on little smaller mud tugs and push boats for about 4 years.
Well, we'll get into all that. Where were you born, bud?
New Orleans, Louisiana, brother.
What year would that have been?
1998.
1998. 13.
Yeah.
I was 13 years old. Not too
Oh
too
man.
far from you. Grew up in Metairie. Um, no, I was in 98, 12. But anyway, doesn't matter. Um, Fill me in about life growing up in the late 90s, early 2000s. Of course, you were very young when 9/11
Yeah.
happened. And do you have any memory of the day?
Yeah, I used to go to this daycare in a hospital at LSU Medical Hospital in New Orleans, and I remember they shut the hospital down. I just remember my mom picking me up, and I was kind of like, well, why would somebody do this to America? Like, why would people do this to anybody? And then I just
Right.
remember we had to go home for a while and seeing it all on the TV, the news, and everything.
Well, I mean,
That
yeah, you grew up through a hell of a conflict.
Yeah, yeah, right in the middle of it, man.
Hmm. Well, tell me about life growing up in New Orleans, aside from, of course, the global scale of things. And you mentioned via Facebook the other day that your sort of first introduction to the industry was, in fact, sitting on the river's edge. So,
Yeah.
fill me in on life growing up and kind of how you found yourself attracted to the opportunities provided here.
And my mom worked at the House of Blues in New Orleans, so she would work late nights. So during the days, we'd go down through the French Quarter, just walk around the market, and sit there at Jackson Square and just look out over the river, see all the tugboats going right by Algiers and all the ships. And I really liked it. And then once I got an opportunity to come out here, it kind of just, I guess, reminded me a little bit of being a kid and all that, and reminded me of home. And I was like, I got to take this opportunity. So that's what I did, and here I am, man.
Well, walk me through life in New Orleans, up through school. Kind of, I get. Were you into music?
No, I wasn't in school. I played sports. I played football. I played baseball for a while. I went to elementary and my first half year of sixth grade in New Orleans before Katrina hit. And then I moved to Corpus Christi, Texas. So I went to school, middle school, high school in Corpus Christi, which is another one. They got a big bay that, I mean, you go sit out there on the bay and look at ships and tugboats all day. And there's always around them one way or another, you know?
Right. Well, I assume you were in sixth grade, so your family moved to Corpus, or you
Yeah,
and your
after
mother.
Yeah, me and my mom after Hurricane Katrina, we came over here to Corpus.
How did you find yourself in Corpus?
She was in the entertainment industry at the House of Blues, and she got a job at the American Bank Center, which is a big stadium down here, and took it. Came over
Okay.
here.
Well, then, how much did life differ? I assume that was a bit of a culture shock from what you were used to.
Yeah, yeah. I went from a real big city to I guess a smaller city. It's still a big city, but it's a lot smaller than New Orleans is. Doesn't have a bunch of offsets and suburbs and whatnot. And it's a beach city, so it was a big difference going from fishing in the river to fishing out in the bay or being 20 minutes from the Gulf of Mexico, and it's just a big difference.
Anything interesting, any antics you got into in New Orleans or Corpus over the years?
I've been in a ton of antics. I try to try to stay out of them now, you know.
What kind of hitch do
Oh
you
man.
work?
Man, it's crazy. So I tried to get my license as fast as I could because I had a lot of experience driving before I ever came here. I had more experience driving a tug than I did building tow when I first started at Brownwater. So I started riding. Over here, we ride 14 and 7. I was riding 11 weeks and a week off. I just did 15 weeks and 1 week off, and I'm back to do another 6 as a pilot. So
Okay.
Yeah, eventually I'll get to 14 and 7 or 28 and
Yeah.
14.
Well, so sixth grade you said in Corpus. Um, was that other maritime gig your first job out of school?
No, out of school, my first job, I was working in the oil field for a little while. I did drill pipe inspections, breaking concrete out of drill pipe, cleaning them up, inspecting them, sending them back to the rigs. Then I did concrete for a little bit. And then I worked in the port. I used to be a line handler tying up ships in the port of Corpus Christi, which was quite the experience on a little 18-foot outboard boat pulling up next to a ship while they're dropping cables down to you. And you run them over to the dock and hang them up for them. Get out the way before they heave them up or they'll pull you out the water. From there to this kind of work.
Right. Um, did you do any college or was that all straight out of high school?
It's all straight out of high school, no college.
Well, fill me in a little bit more on that gig landing mooring vessels to a dock.
Yeah, man. I found it on Facebook one day. This guy said he was hiring in the port, and I was like, well, let me try it. I went down, got a twit card, went and applied. They hired me on the spot. Start off as a deckhand, and they drop the lines down to you, and you move the boat forward and back with the line, so it lays in like 3 or 4 different little lies, and then you take it off to the dock, and you hand it up to somebody else with the tag line. They pull it up, put it on the mooring bit, and then you scoot your boat out from under them, and they tie it up. It was interesting. It was difficult. It was 24/7 on call because you never know when a ship's coming or leaving. And there's a lot of foreign ships, obviously. So it was a lot of different languages, a lot of like, heave and slack are the two words you really need to know. So it was trying to learn those two words in a million different languages is very interesting, very
Yeah.
complicated sometimes.
Well, I guess walk me through your career then from that point forward.
From there, I got an opportunity to go to JM Davidson, which is like a marine construction company. So we built a couple docks in Corpus, built Trans, redid Oil Dock 15, Oil Dock 1, built Southern Fleet, tore down Bob Hall Pier that goes out into the Gulf of Mexico. That was interesting, and it was just pushing a little 600 horsepower mud tug. It was 23 feet, so you didn't need a license to drive it. They showed me how to drive it one day, and they're like, "All right, buddy, you got it." So I was moving crane barges, doing everything you do on these big boats with 600 horsepower and little bitty boat pushing fully regulation hopper barges and everything all over the place. And that was fun. A lot of stuff that probably shouldn't have been doing because it wasn't licensed, so it didn't really nobody could really get mad at us, but it was fun. It got a lot of experience out of that.
Well, fill me in some more. What you can share about that job.
We did when we did that demo in Bob Hall. That's a big pier that goes out in the Gulf of Mexico off of South Padre Island. So it got uh messed up during Hurricane Harvey. So they somehow won the contract. A little mom and pop company somehow won the contract to completely demolish this pier. We have not a single offshore boat. So we rent an offshore tug, we rent 2 barges. This big storm was coming, so they tied these 2 barges off together. One of them's got a 200-ton crane and a bunch of equipment. The other one's got 400 tons of concrete on it. And they just tied them off to this pier that's already broken. And one of the barges popped loose. So we spent a week out there trying to pull this barge off of the beach. It floated all over the sandbars when the storm came in, and it was on the beach. So we were out there trying to get that off. That was quite the experience, taking a little mud tug out into the Gulf. I would not advise anybody to do that. It was not fun. Let's see. The dredging, we dredged out an Trans fleet with a long reach. So every time a ship would come in, because it was right in the turning basin, so every time a ship would come in and turn around, those mud tugs would just silt it right back in. And a lot of little jobs like that you would think a bigger company would get, like Callan or somebody, but it was just this mom and pop company with 20 employees and 2 tugs trying to figure out how to do it. Everybody learning at the same time.
Well, what was the largest amount of barges or cranes or whatever that you were shoving at one point, and how beneficial was running a 600 horsepower tug in your boat handling development?
Oh man, from the most I ever pushed with the 600 was two crane barges and a loaded hopper barge. And the crane barges were strung out, breasted up to the hopper barge, so it was probably 450 by 50. Uh, 600 horsepower did not handle that very well, especially because we didn't have cable, so everything is just soft lined together going through Corpus Bay, just getting the shit beat out of us the whole time. But that little boat, man, it was bump steering, didn't have follow up, didn't have rudder indicators. You had to constantly turn around and look out the back to see where your wheel wash was going. It was, I think that really helped me come into these bigger boats. You know, you got electric over hydraulic and all the follow up steering. It's like, oh, I can just look at this indicator and see where my rudder is. Just being used to being able to do it without, counting the bumps to see how far over you are. You count the seconds to see how far it'll turn without even having to look at a rudder indicator. And it's just, it helped immensely. Yeah, I really think it did. It was the reason I was able to complete a tour so fast and, get to learn how to drive these big boats and push and tow like this as quick as I was.
And then what was your introduction with Brownwater? How was coming on board with them and how much did you learn in a short period of time? I assume you worked the deck a little bit.
Yeah, I worked the deck for 2 years. I just got my pilot's license a few months ago. I came over here one day at JM Davidson. We dropped a barge off over here, and they had a big now hiring sign. I was like, well, that's the next step. I went from tying up ships to little tugs. Like, well, let's step up again. Let's get to some bigger boats. And I walked in and applied. I said, hey, I'm here to drop this barge off, but I go to lunch at 12. I come back over here, and I said, yeah, come apply. Came back, got hired. It was a difference in the size and the power of the boats. I mean, going from 600 to 1200 or 2000 is a huge difference, even though it might not seem like it. Just the size of them, the weight of them, the way they can handle everything is just so much different. So I spent a lot of time on my off watches just staying awake, sitting up there in the warehouse, just watching the captains. We have a lot of captains here that have been here for 15, 20, 30 years, fourth, fifth issue licenses. And just trying to learn from them before they retire. And I think that helped a lot. You got to have the drive to do it, sit there and do it, sacrifice a little bit of sleep for a year or two.
And what were the toughest parts of the job, working your way up into that wheelhouse?
Definitely just learning the deck. Like I already had I don't want to say a understanding of how to drive a tug. I had a beginner's understanding of how to drive a boat. I knew what I was doing. Like I knew what the throttles did. I knew how to do this, how to do that. But I had to learn the deck. I had to learn how to build tow. I knew how to throw lines. I knew how to tie off lines. But build and tow was one of the hardest things I had to learn because the boat I was on, as soon as I started, the two people that were above me that should have trained me, one got fired and one quit to a different company. So it was within a month of me getting on this boat. Oh, hey, you're the lead hand. I'm still trying to teach myself to learn at the same time having to teach other people that are looking at me like, oh, well, what are we gonna do? And it's like, well, we're gonna sit out here and we're gonna figure it out together, one way or another. We're gonna get it done. And the patience the captains had with us on that boat for that time frame before I was able to actually lock it in and figure out exactly what to do and go out there was very grateful for that. They weren't rushing us. They weren't being dicks to us because it took us a while. It was very helpful, and I am grateful for that.
Well, what horsepower vessels have you piloted so far?
1200 and a 2000.
And that's all between Houston and Brownsville?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Uh, what uh, what do you think about the situations at Brazos and Colorado locks?
I just went through the river the other day. I was running 3.5, took a load through it. I remember last year when it was running 5.5. Man, it's a mess. They need to widen out those Brazos locks. I mean, they just have to. Even if they still restrict us to single cuts, only 35 wide or 54 wide. If they can get rid of those walls and make it wider, that would be great. You go through there with a 30, you have 10 feet on each side. It's just it's not good. Too many people are hitting the locks. I feel like they're not making any progress. In 2.5 years, they look worse than when I started. And if they just took them out, not took the locks out, but widened out those walls, it would be so much more helpful. The Colorado is not as bad, but the Brazos is terrible.
They've got issues up and down the canal with those locks. Calcasieu is
Yeah.
always troublesome. You got Sorrel on the Port Island route, but you haven't been further east of Port
No.
Arthur.
Farther, I went to Lake Charles one time. Went to Duval Fleet in Lake Charles one
Okay.
time.
But
Other than that,
not through Calcasieu Lock.
no,
Okay.
sir.
All right. Um, well, I mean that gets through your career. What give me some stories, man. Some stories at the stick, some stories on deck. Anything that comes to mind from your 2.5 years in the towing and barge industry.
Man, there's so many of them. I know one of the hardest things we've ever done is going out there into Anchorage, landing on ships out in the Bolivar Anchorage, fueling them. And then one time we went out there to land and they shut the ship channel down. This was recently. They had all those dredge removals and then too many people turned in at once. So they shut it down. And I was calling traffic like, hey, I'm out here in the Anchorage. They're like, oh, you can't come inbound. Like, what am I supposed to do? Just float around and just get beat up all day? Sat out there in Anchorage just floating in circles for 3 or 4 hours before they'd let us turn inbound. And I mean, it happened again, but the next time I was at Bolivar and I got all the way in front of the line. I was like, okay, no one's allowed in or out. I'm just going to tee into the bank, 600 foot. Nobody's going to pass me. They're not going to let anybody go before us this time. I mean, it's just, that's always a fun one is going through Houston. Coming to Brownsville is terrible. That's, you got to be right in the middle of the channel, meeting people, especially we push 800 strung out on this boat. So that's quite the fun time coming to Brownsville, making these bends, going through the camps, 800 foot. On the deck, man, it's going from painting the boat, you're sitting there taking up a deck all the way down to bare metal to, hey, let's go build a six pack, go build a six pack and go right back to it. It gets tiring after a while, especially riding. It's completely my fault that I ride 11 weeks at a time, but it does get tiring. Seeing the hands you go through, man, over and over and over. You get someone that comes out here that wants to do it for 10 days and then by their 11th day they're like, this isn't for me, and then you're stuck with them on the boat. You know what I mean? They can't just call in to work. Like, they're at work, there is no calling in. uh it's not a life for everybody, I would say.
Well, speaking of, what is home life for you for the 1 week you get to spend there at a time?
And I'm just moving in with my sister. We're about to renovate a house and stuff, so that's gonna be fun. We're gonna renovate a house. I go on a lot of vacations. I go to New Orleans constantly, go over there and get into mischief and whatnot. But yeah, that's what home life is going to be for the next probably years. Renovating a house, going everything from turf to building decks and adding a second story, building a gym and a bar. It's going to be working at home while I'm at home, off of work.
Absolutely. Yeah, life doesn't stop, no matter where you're at. Well, what I guess what's next for you? Is round water the career? Do you want to stick in that stretch of the canal? Do you want to run something bigger? What are you looking to do with your career?
uh, I wouldn't mind sticking around Brownwater for a year or two more, get my master's, see what stage I'm at Brownwater there. Once I'm there, once I have my master's and I'm at Brownwater, see just where I'm at. I definitely wouldn't mind going to the river eventually. I've heard a lot of crazy stories about being over there, but something I'd like to experience at least once. Wouldn't mind getting on with a bigger company eventually, something with better future security, I guess you could say, bigger retirement, 401ks, all that good stuff. Look out for the future. I'm still young enough that I don't have to, it's not urgent for me to worry about it right this second, but wouldn't mind sticking around here for a couple years and then maybe moving somewhere bigger.
Well, I mean, that pretty much wraps up what I would normally ask. Where did you first find this podcast?
Man, I don't know how I stumbled upon it. I used to listen to it like when I'd be off watching, I'd be falling asleep. Just listen to it, listen to other people's perspectives and stuff people have been through, and I try to take something from everybody. I think my port captain, both of them have been on here. Uh,
Is John?
yeah, John Rooney and
Yeah.
Tabitha Brown.
Hmm.
Yeah, so I try to take something from this podcast that everybody says, how can I fit that into my life, my career?
Yeah.
And I see it's posted on Facebook all the time. I mean, I like it. I enjoy it.
Yeah. I've slacked off lately just because I switched positions within Ingram and learning liquids and everything else I've got going on. But yeah, man, no, I'm glad we got to link up and I'll have this published in, I don't know, probably first week of July, something like that.
Cool, man. Awesome. I look forward to it. I appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah,
I mean,
man.
I love listening to it. I try to take everything, something from everything. And, I advise anybody that does listen to it, try to take one thing from everybody, no matter what it is. It'll
At
help you
least,
eventually.
at least one thing, man. I've got
Yeah.
so many hours. Probably, I don't know how I got through what I did. Um, but yeah, man. No, we'll keep in touch. I think that'll wrap it up for me here today.
Alrighty, man. Thank you. I appreciate it.
No problem, man. Talk to you soon.
Yes, sir.